It starts quietly. You're not doing anything wrong, just thinking. But thinking turns into replaying. Replaying turns into rewriting. And before you know it, you're living in your head more than in the world. You analyze the tone of a message, the silence after a conversation, the past that can't be changed. You call it being cautious, your brain calls it survival. As Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Overthinking is the unconscious taking the wheel, not to destroy you, but to protect you from the same pain it once knew. Psychologists call this cognitive looping, a process where the brain replays scenarios to reduce anxiety. But it's a trap. The brain confuses thinking about a problem with fixing it. You lie in bed running through what-ifs and should-haves, convinced that if you just think hard enough, you'll find peace. But what you're really doing is feeding anxiety disguised as logic. It's the same mechanism that fuels obsessive-compulsive tendencies, an endless search for certainty in an uncertain world. Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel laureate psychologist, once wrote, "Nothing in life is as important as you think it is while you are thinking about it." Overthinking magnifies moments until they feel like life or death, when in reality, they're just echoes of fear.
If you grew up in a chaotic or critical environment, your brain learned early that awareness equals safety. That's called hypervigilance. The nervous system's over-alert mode. You scan for tone shifts in people's voices, over-explain yourself, reanalyze expressions. You believe control prevents pain. Maybe as a child, you had to read emotions before they exploded. Now, as an adult, you read every silence as danger. Bessel van der Kolk in The Body Keeps the Score explains that trauma teaches the body to anticipate catastrophe even in safety. Overthinking is that anticipation. It's your brain's way of saying, "I'll never be cut off guard again." You see it in your daily life. At work, you write an email and rewrite it 10 times, not for grammar, but for approval. In relationships, you wait hours to respond, not because you're busy, but because you're afraid of saying too much or too little. You replay texts, conversations, and facial expressions, searching for hidden meanings that aren't there. Overthinking gives you the illusion of control, but really, it's emotional quicksand. Soren Kierkegaard once said, "Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Too many possibilities, too much responsibility, and no anchor in trust." The more you think, the safer you feel for a moment. But control is an illusion. The Stoics warned against this centuries ago. Epictetus said, "Some things are in our control and others are not." Overthinking collapses that distinction. It tries to control both the past and the future, things the mind was never built to hold. Neuroscience shows that overthinking activates the default mode network, the same part of the brain that lights up during worry and rumination. The longer it stays active, the more anxious you feel, creating a cycle where your thoughts feed your stress and your stress feeds your thoughts. So, what is your brain really trying to do? It's not trying to torment you. It's trying to keep you safe from emotional pain, rejection, failure, shame. It's trying to solve feelings with logic. Viktor Frankl wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose." Overthinking fills that space with noise. Healing begins when you let silence return. When you stop interrogating every thought and start asking a deeper question. What emotion am I avoiding right now? Healing overthinking isn't about forcing your mind to be quiet. It's about teaching it that silence is safe. You pause, breathe, and remind yourself, I can't control what happens, but I can control how I meet it. This is what mindfulness truly is. Not emptying the mind,
but observing it without judgment. Alan Watts once said, "Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone." The more you fight your thoughts, the cloudier they get. The more you allow them to exist without resistance, the calmer the mind becomes. Maybe the goal isn't to stop overthinking, but to understand it, to thank your brain for protecting you, and then gently show it that the danger has passed. Overthinking is not a sign of weakness. It's the mind's way of saying, I don't trust the world to hold me, so I'll hold everything myself. But peace begins when you loosen that grip. Because as the philosopher Seneca said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. So breathe. Let your thoughts pass like clouds, not storms. You don't have to solve every feeling to survive it. Sometimes the bravest thing the mind can do is rest and trust that not every unanswered question needs an answer.